Hello Virgo gang, welcome to my channel Tarot by the Intuitive Teacup. My name's Annie. We're going to read your tarot cards here today. This will be a general message for for Virgo, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus signs. Maybe there's Taurus cross watchers, I don't know. Please come into the readings with an open heart, an open mind, a desire to learn something or to better yourself. And obviously, if the messages that come through don't resonate, don't take action on them. Feel free to release them. Maybe assume they're going out to someone else who needs to hear them. But you may choose to revisit them in the future at a later date. Sometimes tarot messages make sense later on down the line. You are accountable and responsible for all your own actions and decisions. Let's do it. Let's try and have some fun for my Virgos. Okay, so I'm going to read this as recent past, and essentially where you're headed to, where you're building, maybe present, and then what you need to release and what you need to embrace. All right, so we have Queen of Wands in the past. We have the Hangman in the present. An interesting depiction of the Hangman, though. I see someone proposing to you or pleading with you to do something. It's for your own good. It's for your own benefit, I'm hearing. And then in your near future, you have the Eight of Cups. Okay, walking away from something that humbled you. Interesting. So those two, I definitely see the connection. It's something that tested your strength or tested your power. And in some ways, maybe made you feel powerless. Obviously, this won't be everyone's message, but it could be an addiction issue. And do keep in mind, if this isn't you, you could be speaking to a partner about some sort of addiction issue and sort of pleading with them to see it from a different perspective, you know. Yeah, wow, that totally makes sense to me. So real quick, if that's the storyline, because I don't think that's for the majority of you, but it came out first, so to me that says it's important. What you need to release is lack mentality. And not being a good advocate for yourself, feeling a sense of shame or I'm not good enough. Because when you start to believe that, then you're never going to want to get better. And maybe that's your person. Same thing too, if you love this person and want to help them, keep in mind, first of all, you can't save anybody. You can only be there to nurture and support and assist. But with that, a mentality of shutting them out in the cold or playing hard to get or playing games, there's absolutely no room for that because this person may be a tortured soul of sorts. And I know it's hard. It's a fine line when your friends or family or anyone you're dealing with has addiction issues. Because then again, we lean into that sense of guilt. Well, should I step up? Should I help them? They need me. But at what point does that enable bad behavior for them to do it again and then use you as like the savior, so to say. So just keep that in mind. And then what needs to be embraced is finding new stability, reestablishing a good, healthy pattern, building a new lifestyle. Four of Pentacles, I always think of the four corners of the house. Like we have our base, we have our foundation. Now how do we want to build from here? So I would, obviously, if this is not a story about addiction for you, I would challenge you to take that very short narrative and see where does that fit into your life. If it's not addiction, where is there a pattern or behavior where maybe it's not self-destructive, but maybe it's also not for your best and highest good. You know, maybe you're staying at a job that really doesn't appreciate you or doesn't serve you in the long term, you know, something like that. Let me see what else I can get from this. It's funny how that came out instantly. It was just, that felt very channeled. Let's see. Typically, I love my Queen of Wands. I do see this as sort of an Alice in Wonderland type down the rabbit hole. Which again, that whole trippy story, right, has a lot of escapism, fantasy, you know, drug references. So I'm just putting it out there. But typically my Queen of Wands is the entertainment queen, you know, work hard, play hard, initiates a lot of passion, initiates a lot of action, enthusiasm in people. So very, very much someone capable of a leadership role. So that in your recent past, you may have stepped into one or have the opportunity or possibility of becoming a leader in some capacity in your life. And again, maybe it's for hobby, sport, pleasure. It doesn't have to be, you know, the CEO or executive, right? But for some of you, it might be. We'll see. So then that goes into the Hangman. So there was some sort of delay in I'm almost getting in receiving your crown or your title. or award or trophy or recognition. It's like it was supposed to be, and I'm getting a couple storylines, but you weren't there to receive it. Was it on purpose or what? I don't know. Hold on. Gosh, I just can't move away from the first storyline. I'm trying to reach out to a new group of Virgos. I may have to read it like that, and you're going to have to put it into context in your life, if and where it fits. Obviously, never force anything. But I am almost getting the idea of sort of like a flakiness because of maybe substance abuse or some form of escapism, even if it's not drugs, where you were supposed to show up to do something. It's like there was a big presentation or something of great importance where other people were relying on you, but you didn't show up. And I think it was forgetfulness. I don't think it was on purpose. I think there were distractions, but it's something that potentially, and you have the power to change this, right? Potentially caused a lot of shame because you felt like other people were counting on you. And I do think that there was more people involved. So it wasn't just kind of embarrassing or humiliating, but it was on a more public sphere or level. And again, this might be who you're dealing with. You know, this could be a coworker of yours. And because typically Virgos are very responsible and very grounded. But, you know, I'm not saying they all are, right? Everybody's a little bit different. I think someone here is afraid to ask for help. And there is a lack of self-love or a lack of confidence, a lack of belief in oneself that starts to manifest either as illness in the body or our illness, like an illness in relationship to our worth and our resources, like our relationship with ourselves, but also our relationship with money and, you know, the earthly, tangible things that allow us to live. There's like a lack of nourishment. That's kind of I know that's a weird way of putting it, but that's kind of a theme here. Others of you, again, there's something about a promotion that was supposed to come to you, but it was put on delay, or there was weird negotiations. There was confusion about a promotion or a demotion, or is that even a word? Demoted? Yeah, I think it is. We just don't use it a lot, but I don't know if that's a word. Some Virgo out there definitely knows and will correct me. So there's a foggy energy here with the Hanged Man. Okay, so for some of you, there was rumor that like a boss was retiring or that you were going to take the place of someone or become their counterpart, and they decided to stick around longer. And you're kind of like, well, this is awkward because I was supposed to get that. And again, if that's the scenario, that was completely out of your control. You didn't do anything wrong. Some of you were, showed up first thing in the morning to take on your new, position, new title, new office, whatever it was. It doesn't have to be corporate, but you understand what I mean? So in a sense, there is that shame or that embarrassment of like, oh, well, like I told my family about this and now there's this weird, like everyone's not addressing the elephant in the room. Like everybody's pretending that all is normal when you got cheated out of something or robbed out of something. Gosh, I hope this makes sense to someone. I almost see it as like the equivalent of like, having to stand naked in front of your peers. It's like, oh God, this is so awkward. And I mean, I don't think it's literal, but there's like a sense of like fear of judgment for one thing, but again, for most of you, it was out of your control. Like they changed the rules of the game on you and didn't let you in on it until it was too late. I don't like that. There's definitely weird, confusing energy at work. Let me think about this for a second. So if you're Virgo rising, then maybe your seventh house of contractual obligations ruled by Pisces. Yeah, there may be like very loose terms of a contract or confusion of a contract, or I don't know. And that makes sense because Jupiter just went past Pisces into I guess what would be your 8th house of Aries. I hope I'm doing this right in my head. But yeah, so this big expansion, this big opportunity may have ended up at a loss, or at least on hold. There's something very stuck here. So what you need to release is the idea that, like, oh, well, I'm not good enough. They took the promotion away from me because they don't like me, or they don't think I'm worth it. There's definitely like a negative self-reflection or reaction to what went on, but I really want to very explicitly state, for most of you, you didn't do anything wrong. You know, you were the person they wanted to give it to, and then they couldn't. But I'm wondering if it has to do with some sort of, I'm hearing Saturn, so I don't know, some sort of structural thing, or help me out here, Spirit. The 3 of Swords. Gosh, it's awkward. Yeah, and everybody knows it's awkward. It's like they made a false promise they couldn't deliver on. But again, I don't think it was personal. It could have been upper management, or I don't know, something like that. Don't wear that as, I'm not good enough. Don't take on that energy as sort of your emotional truth about yourself, because that's what you need to release. Feeling shut out, feeling left in the cold, absolutely validated. Like, I understand why you feel that way, but adopting that way of thinking, you're only sinking deeper down into that sort of depressive or just sad energy. You don't need to do that. And that's what 5 of Pentacles is, right? It's weathering the storm. And that in itself tells you exactly where we're headed, right? Yeah, you are weathering the storm. And there's a delay, right? The Hangman, it's annoying, but there is a change in perspective or a change in perception. There could have been a change in management. There could have been a change of the rule book, the regulations, something like that. This, even on a relationship level, let's say this is romantic. It's like someone made a false offer. It's like, yeah, I want to date you and I'm so excited. And then someone's like, oh, you know what? I'm just not ready to date right now. That's what this could be too. And so you're like, oh, I'm never good enough. I'm always rejected. And let me stop you there. Like, no more negative thinking. It's about weathering the storm. It's cutting your losses and finding that will, that drive, that motivation to move forward, which, here's the thing, in the past you had that wand, that action fire energy. Here it's like the fire disappeared, and so something about this either humbled you or saddened you, or you just lost, it made you completely complacent and also kind of bitter. And again, I get it, Virgo. I think I would probably feel really similar. Like, you got slighted, but rather than utilizing that energy and making it something kind of vindictive, or I'm going to get them, or you know what, I'm just not going to do anything at work. I'm just going to punch in and punch out and not do it. Like, do you know what I mean? Rather than retaliating, I would use that kind of fire in your belly, so to say, to push yourself even farther, to find either a new avenue where you are truly able to shine and get recognized and appreciated, or to shake things up and do something different where you can quickly establish how much of a key player you are. And I hate to say it, but this makes sense to me, like how much they would miss losing you. Like, if you were putting out other applications or something, if you started to set up shop somewhere else on the side, putting out applications, going on interviews, and I'm not saying you have to do this, but that's sort of how I'm reading these cards. It's like, and give them this sort of opportunity of, hey, just so you know, like, I actually have a counter offer. Do you want to talk? What can you do for me? However you want to phrase it. That might light the fire, but again, it starts with you initiating the action. I think more so than almost any other zodiac sign, I think Virgos have all the skills and the talents to succeed, but they rarely get that chance to shine. And sometimes it's not the desire to, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't push yourself to anyway. The World. Yeah. This might actually be fated, as in fate, destiny, because it may actually be closing out a very long chapter where you've kind of reached You've tapped out the resources here. You might be meant to go and build somewhere else if you want to pursue that. Anytime the World card shows up, it's Saturn energy, so it can indicate obstacles, but typically it's about mastery and achievement. And for a lot of you, I sense that you already have that because, again, you seem to have very good standing in this position here, But it could be that it's just, it's not in the right hands. It's not being managed by the right people. And it should be managed by you. You know, they're your skills, your talents. But you might be working under a network or a body of people where it's just like, oh yeah, and then, you know, Virgo will do the thing that they always do. And you're like, oh, what? So in a way, this could be a very, I don't want to say uncomfortable, because I think that incites fear. Saturn says you've accomplished a lot. You've achieved a lot. And so it's almost like you're being pushed through the birth canal again, but you're not quite there. So there's that awkward, I'm going to be real gross, Virgo. Block your ears if you're not ready. There's like that awkward, sticky, how do I get out of this? And you know, the birth canal metaphor, right? Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, so to say, but right now you might feel like you're in the dark. That's going to change. Something about the mirror reflection or the, what is that? I can tell there's something to that. What is that about? The Knight of Cups. Yeah, to me, that's about pursuing other options that are probably far more lucrative and happy. Something that's going to fill your cup, bring you joy, utilize your skills and talents, maybe offer you something with a little bit more creativity or a little bit more movement, versatility, right? Knights change it up. They don't always head in the same direction. They keep moving. So that's interesting. Something involving travel, maybe. I love this card. This is actually one of my favorite cards. Not just in this deck. I'm using John Bauer Tarot. This is all his artwork. It's just one of my favorite cards ever in all of tarot. I don't know why I love it. I just think it's really fascinating. Anyway, that's just me. Caught between a rock and a hard place. I think some of you sensed there was more loyalty than there actually was. And I think a lot of people, not just you, Virgo, all the signs, a lot of people are coming to that like shocking realization and that awakening because of what the last, 2 years-ish has brought us, right? A lot has changed. The world has changed and is changing and will continue to change. And so don't deny yourself that opportunity either. Whether you choose to stay in the situation or exit it, you're allowed to grow and change. And as a Virgo, I think that's important too. I think Virgos are known for being sort of like the specialist. Like you can really hone in on something and kind of dive deep or dig deep. But with that, if you're doing it in something that is meaningless or passionless, or again, not really serving anybody, including yourself, then there is kind of this sort of existential, well, what's the point of it all? And I do see you reaching a point where it's like going into this team, this group, this work, it's almost like you're on autopilot, like you've become sort of a zombie. And I don't like that because, again, I think that is not in support of a healthy, in support of anything really, but especially your mental health and wellness, which for Virgo is always a priority, right? You're attached to that kind of that sixth house, taking good care of your body, your upkeep of your lifestyle. So interesting. You have the High Priestess. Yeah, I see this so as like reaching maybe the top echelon of where you're at, even though in theory you could go higher. Right now it's not happening. So you have a choice. You can stick around and keep serving in the way that you have been, or you can pursue other options knowing that you're going to have to start more fresh as the newbie. Do you see the similarities here, like between the trees? Only there's this, what I assume to be a maiden or maybe a mother, right? Maiden, mother, crone, right? Someone more mature, let's put it that way, which is very Saturn, again, the world card, world energy, into someone who's, in theory, relatively young and fresh and new and naive. But with that, there's lots more to be explored and discovered. And so don't fear that. Embrace it. I think this idea of looking in the mirror is understanding that not only has this scenario, your work environment changed, you've changed too. And as I'm saying, I'm encouraging that. I think that's great. You're not the same person you were 2 years ago, let alone 20 years ago, right? Allow yourself that breathing room to be someone else and pursue things that are in alignment with who you are now versus then. There's almost like this going from something very mature and structured and catered to meet the expectations of others and society. It's like there's a put on. You have to dress right, which, Virgos do anyway, right? But versus just showing up as you are, metaphorically in the nude. But what I mean by that is showing up and being the newbie, being vulnerable, but being open to learning, but also, this is huge, do I have your attention? Not being taken advantage of just because you're new. And in a more deep psychological metaphor, not being taken advantage of because, you're quote unquote naked. Do you understand what I mean there? And that's going to have a deeper meaning for some of you, but I think you kind of get what I'm saying with that. Again, a very specific message to probably one or two different people, but yeah, don't fall into again, savior mode and become the prey of predators, for whatever reason that may be, because of your race, your gender, your ethnicity, your sexuality, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I was getting at with the idea of don't be taken advantage of for the multitude of reasons that you could be. And I'm not saying you are. I don't even necessarily see that in the cards. It came out. Again, it felt kind of channeled, so. It's like you're experiencing the world for the first time again, and it's like you're the chick who's hatched from the egg, and so it's curious and exciting, but it's also really scary. Because a part of this may, Aries, you're initiating it on your own. You're not necessarily standing with the group or the bunch anymore. You may be having to go and explore uncharted territory, but it can be fun. It can be pleasurable. It can be a game. There can be enjoyment there. And I think good advice, make sure there's money there too. And I don't have to tell you that, you're Virgo, right? But again, the idea of stability, the 4, make sure if you decide to expand or move away from this slowly or however you do it, whatever your strategy is, that's up to you. Some of you are going to bolt out of there though. Queen of Wands and the Knight of Cups. It's like, I'm just going to listen to my heart. I quit. You don't have to do that, but you can. It's an option. Up to you. Make sure that there is a bit of a nest egg, because I think that's going to relieve your anxiety of, well, how am I going to pay my bills? If you know you have something tucked away, then yeah, that does allow you to take more risks. And if you don't, that's no reason to be ashamed, but it's also not a reason to allow your mental health to suffer because you feel trapped. I don't think that's the case for most of you. If it was, I would think more of like an 8 of Swords vibe, like I feel like I'm in a prison and I can't get out. However, that might be your 5 of Coins coming through of like the lack of money is manifesting of, a lack of self-respect, so just be cognizant of that. All right. If Virgo is looking for love, look for a Pisces. No, I'm just kidding. I saw the moon at the bottom of the deck, or a Cancer for that matter. All right, let's see. Virgo in love. Let's give them a quick love reading. There it is. It came out again. All right, we'll stick to it. Some of you are in the process of manifesting something great. Speak it out loud to the universe is what I'm hearing. Moon is very much a card of Pisces, an intuitive dreamer, a creative. The Magician, yeah, again, manifesting. A dancer, someone who's very artistic or poetic. Pleasure seeking. That feels very Taurus to me as well. Could be Gemini or another Virgo. That's very much indicative with the Magician. And then the Three of Pentacles. So someone who thinks a long-term perspective, not fly by night. Someone who, I will say it, you have two cards of Piscean, Neptune energy, right? Someone who maybe is a little bit slow to start or slow to let their guard down and get to know you, but that's okay. Give it time. 3 of Pentacles says you don't have to rush into anything, but be open to collaboration. Be open to sharing your ideas and your knowledge. Share yourself with the world. You are very interesting and very fascinating. So don't tell yourself otherwise, right? Yeah, I do see you shying away from like unwanted attention, but you're going to get it anyway. So you might as well embrace it. And I don't say that at all to instill fear. It's just you're meant to shine. And maybe it's in an alternative way. I could almost interpret it as like, maybe you don't want to be the sun. Maybe you don't want to be the Leo, but maybe you do, right? Maybe you want to be the entertainer and in the spotlight. Maybe you want to be a dancer, right? Whatever it is. But maybe some of you want more clout or more, it's not necessarily responsibility. You want more appreciation, but in a more subtle way. There's something more spiritual or intuitive here with the moon. So it still lights up the sky, but in a way that isn't like, look at me. But that's what I mean. People still look at the moon and go, oh my God, it's gorgeous. That's sort of my message for you on a more romantic level. You may not see yourself as, I don't know, desirable, worthy, but you absolutely are. You shine in a different way, and that's what makes you attractive. So it's not about fitting in with the bunch. And I revert back to this sort of like Queen of Wands, fire, Aries type energy. It separates from the pack because it's meant to shine. It's meant to be bold and be courageous and go its own way. You can do that in like a subtle, gentle, intuitive way. And maybe a Pisces friend is going to hook you up, on a dating app, or I don't know. Or maybe a Pisces is going to hook up with you. Pisces and Virgo oppose each other. So that can actually be sort of this opposites attract, or, the perfect pairing of opposites. Or it can be someone who drives you nuts, right? It can go either way. Think long-term and building over time, but go out and mingle, meet people, and make sure, again, sharing things about yourself to open up. Don't be afraid to kind of put yourself on display a little bit. All right, last but not least, you got a long one, Virgo. Animal card, real quick, we'll read for Virgo. What animal card wants to show itself this week, if it relates to this message at all? I'm hearing like mother, like daughter. So for some of you, this might be about your mother. For some of you, this might be about your daughter. And something that you struggle with, they might be struggling with too. So I don't know, opening up the channels of communication. There is not a lot of air energy here. I will say that. There's not a lot of swords. But this is a Mercury card, so speak your truth. And don't be afraid. It's like she's like displaying herself, right? She's almost naked. Like, there's no shame there. It's like, this is me in all my glory. And it is specific to the deck I chose, but there is a lot of suggestions of, being in the buff, in the raw, in the nude, naked, vulnerable. And I take that to mean something about being comfortable in your own skin, right? I'm not saying you have to show the world your bod, but if you want to, that's your prerogative, right? The comfortability of being in your own skin and knowing who you are and owning it and celebrating it, that's a really important message this week, Virgo. All right, I'm getting to it, I know. For Virgo, does anyone want to pop out in particular for my Virgo gang? Yes, please. The crocodile. All right. Frog, turtle, oyster, beaver, starfish, stingray, crocodile. Here we are. Resting, submerging, collecting energy, and cooling off. The crocodile reminds us to step back from the external world and turn inward. Now is not the time for decisions, action, or discussion. The crocodile's mantra is wait. This doesn't mean lying around, hoping life's challenges will disappear. The crocodile is much smarter than that. It means intentionally withdrawing, gathering our awareness, observing, and building energy. Fill up the vital reserves so that your next move comes from a place of wisdom and power. When in balance, this card means wise, patient, and a silent powerhouse. When out of balance, it feels stuck and lashes out. To bring into balance, you must rest and do the, I'm going to butcher this, Makarasana pose. I hope I'm saying that right. Makarasana pose. I'm not a yogi, but I bet some of you are out there. All right, Virgo, that's what I got for you this week. I hope this message was meaningful. I hope it resonated for you. If so, please drop me a like, a subscribe, tell your friends. Word of mouth is huge. Share my channel on your social media. Anything you can do would be most appreciated. And good karma too, right? For a free reading. All right, Virgos, hang tough. I will see you very soon for more tarot. Bye, guys.